From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. Yesterday was the epic, once-in-a-lifetime testimony of Michael Cohen before the House Intelligence Committee. A days-long mea culpa from the president's former lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. Yesterday, Michael became the star witness for the case against his former employer. He accused him of multiple criminal activities, including criminal activities, while he's been sitting as the President of the United States. Now, this was only day one of what will likely be a slow unraveling for the sitting President of the United States. It felt like it was straight out of a mob movie. In fact, after watching Cohen's testimony, I couldn't help but spend the night watching the 1970s classic, The Godfather, as I, just like Cohen, am easily seduced into falling into a fantasy world of muscling and criminal activity. Although notably, the Trump activities include a lot less murder than the 1940s gangsters. There were no machine guns, and as far as I've been led to believe, no drive-by shootings. And when we talk about where the bodies are buried in the Trump saga, so far, we're not talking about actual bodies or severed horse heads. It's just a lot of cheating and lying and grandizing, money-making, and all that bullshit that's so far beneath the integrity of the office of the United States of America, the President of the United States of America. Mr. Cohen described a business and a campaign in which lies and threats were routine. Embarrassing stories were brought and buried again and again, but not people, just press stories, On top of the family organization sits a literal Don, dropping hints about how to best make his problems go away. I'll make him an offer they cannot refuse. Wait a second. We all know what these codes mean, right? Cohen brought checks, letters, financial statements to back up his testimony yesterday. Mr. Cohen's sweeping argument was that his one-time boss, now hold yourself, brace yourself, everyone calm down, was not a good person. The Republicans on the committee made a silly embarrassment of themselves. Now, sure, there were a few exceptions that asked some real questions and really put Michael Cohen on the spot, but there were some spots where they were saying, Michael Cohen, why would we ever trust you? You lied about your taxes in 2012, 13, 14, 15. I don't know who you're trying to fool here, but that's when he was making money from Trump, and if Trump was making money illegally, well, God, I don't think it would be a good idea to claim that money, do you? Cohen ominously warned them that he too once bent over backwards to do silly and sometimes illegal things to protect Donald Trump. And look where I ended up, he warned them. Cohen called Trump a racist, a con man, and a cheat. Mr. Cohen was only brought to testify because Democrats have taken control of the House. If Democrats lost that last election, this is knowledge we would never have heard. Thus, this marks the beginning of the new dawn on the Hill. There is so much more we could talk about from yesterday's hearing, but this is Brief News Brief, so that's what you're going to get today. President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, or Kimmy Fat Fat if you will, abruptly cut short their two-day summit Thursday. Talks collapsed, and there's different accounts of why both leaders walked away without an agreement or a clean plan to keep the dialogue alive, or the world alive for that matter, because we are talking life and death with nuclear bombs. The disagreement branched from the trade-offs between the United States providing relief from sanctions and North Korea's steps to dismantle its nuclear weapons program. The two leaders walked away, skipping a planned lunch, and decided against participating in a scheduled signing ceremony, which should come as no surprise because it doesn't sound like there's a deal. No deal, no signing. So is this the end of the sunny romance between Kim and Donnie? I don't know. A possible U.S.-North Korea chill could also have wider consequences. Imagine for a moment, we're probably not going to get a commemorative coin this year. Is this the end of the groundbreaking exchanges between the North and the U.S. ally South Korea? Now, Trump said that the main impediment to the deal was Kim's requirement that the United States lift all economic sanctions on North Korea in exchange for the closure of only one nuclear facility, which, if you do the math, it's slightly, actually it's a far short cry of nuclear disarmament. Trump also raised concerns about North Korea's concealment of parts of its nuclear industry. Hours later, North Korea's foreign minister Ri Yong-ho offered a slightly different take at a rare news conference. He claimed that Kim's regime sought only partial sanctions relief in return for dismantling the North's main enrichment capabilities. Trump said, "Sometimes you have to walk, and this is just one of those times." This was a significant diplomatic setback for Trump. The president flew 20 hours to get to Vietnam with the hope of producing demonstrable progress towards North Korea's denuclearization. The United States says that the UN sanctions cannot be unwound until North Korea fully denuclearizes. But it had left open the door for some marginal relief of U.S. unilateral UN sanctions. UN sanctions? Just sanctions. It's saying if North Korea takes some steps in the right directions, it will kind of ease off on stuff. But there's no deal. And if you ask me, no deal is better than a bad deal. So hopefully, despite that there's no future talks planned for the two countries, hopefully it's better than having a bad deal, right? Israel's Attorney General has told Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he is preparing to indict him on corruption charges. Sound familiar? Netanyahu will remain in office and is seeking re-election in April. This will be the first time a sitting prime minister in Israel has been indicted. Netanyahu has been serving as prime minister for a decade. He is being accused of accepting cigars and champagne and expensive gifts from wealthy businessmen, including Hollywood producer Aaron Micklin, and is being accused of possible breach of trust and fraud charges, including trying to strike a deal with a newspaper publisher to advance legislation that would help the publisher's business. In exchange, the publisher would be giving Netanyahu positive media coverage. The most serious charge is allegedly approving a lucrative company merger for telecoms businessman, and in exchange, the businessman's news website gave Netanyahu favorable coverage. A final indictment could take a year or more. The hearing date has not yet been made public, and Netanyahu has called the charges absurd. He is claiming that the charges are political and has described the probe as interference in the upcoming Israeli elections. Netanyahu is accusing Mandelblit, the Attorney General, of caving to pressure from the left and the left-wing media to rush to announce charges before the elections. Netanyahu has signaled that if indicted, he would remain in office and fight in court. The Israeli people are divided on the charges. The embattled prime minister is expected to address the Israeli public this evening.